In this video, we'll discuss what red cheeks say about your immune function, ideas to consider, and some actionable steps you can take. Enjoy. In the context of face reading, when we see heat developing in the cheeks, specifically when we see a red coloring around the cheeks, we have to look at the geography of the face and what this means. So in the context of face reading, what we're looking at is that the cheeks house lung function. And when we see the lungs carrying extra heat, what that means is that we are seeing a disruption in what we call Wei Qi. Wei Qi is this energetic membrane that exists between the skin and the muscle layer. It defends us from the outside world. Now, things coming in from the outside world can be pathogens like bacteria, molds, viruses, but it can also be things like toxic people or poor work environments or bad friendships. There are lots of things that we want to protect ourselves from that exist in the external world. So when we see redness in the cheeks, this means that the lung system is running a bit hot. And the other way to think about this is the context of the heart organ. The heart organ is the fire element. The lungs, which encapsulate that and wrap around it, are the metal element. And you want to think there's this dynamic tension between the heart and the lungs. The heart warms the metal, okay, the metal of the lungs. But if the lungs are not diffusing that heat appropriately, it begins to overheat and we see redness in the cheeks. So what this points to in face reading, if we see this, yes, it can be associated with high blood pressure. Yes, it can be associated with food intolerances. There are lots of things, but those things in the East are seen as immune defense problems. We are not warding off the external world, or we're taking in foods through our membrane that are not conducive to our health. So one of the things that you want to think about is if we're seeing redness in the cheeks, this is a call to action to get in touch with the animalistic tendencies of human nature, which means grounding, be outside, get your feet on bare ground so that your blood viscosity can thin out. We can actually reduce or extract some of that heat from the body. The other thing is to vigorously exercise. We need to move our lungs to get that excess heat out of there. So being in nature, grounding, exercising vigorously, and steering clear of the foods that are highly inflammatory, like wheat. So wheat is not inherently bad, but with the toxin exposure that is involved, glyphosate in particular, they're finding that glyphosate in our wheat supply is actually causing gut disruption. And when we see that, we're also going to see a flaring of the cheeks and a redness in the cheeks. So we want to pay attention to these things, but the thing to keep in mind is that if we see heat in the lungs, get out into nature, ground, minimize those toxic foods, and do what you can to reduce that heat so you can live a happier and healthier life. Thanks.